With Hurricane Dorian about to pass us by, what else would I do than think about how I can incorporate natural disasters into my D&D games? Let's talk a little bit today about a hot start. All right, what is a hot start and what does that have to do with natural disasters? A hot start is, from my understanding, when you begin a campaign or a session, I suppose, but let's talk about starting a new campaign. When you start a new campaign with action from go, where you describe something amazing happening, whatever it happens to be, and thrust the players directly into the conflict or the drama. And I thought about how an amazing thing might be to have some kind of natural disaster that sets the game off and puts the players directly in the path of choosing if they're gonna be a heroic person or not, if they're gonna be a heroic adventurer or not. Because, I used to live in California where we had earthquakes, and I lived on the East Coast and the West Coast. I've been to other parts of the world and so forth, and wherever you go, there's always something, whether it's flooding or fires or earthquakes or hurricanes or whatever it is. Part of the human condition is facing challenges, and many of them can be challenges from the natural world. And so why not let that inform our D&D games as DMs and bring that into the game and use it as a great device? And I think there's probably several different ways that you could do that, but I think the number one way to do that is as a hot start. The number two being if you want to perhaps stir things up a little bit, create a little drama and tension in the game if it seems to be maybe getting lulled or dragging or having slowed down in a way. You can use something like this to just immediately, rack up the tension to like a 10, And being as a hot start, what I mean by that is like, especially if you do a session 0 where you discover how the characters have come together to be adventurers together. Like obviously a soft start might be where you have them in like a bar or at a gathering or something less intense and full of like drama and antics. Whereas with the hot start, if something tantamount is happening in the moment, they have to jump into action. And that might help them really quickly discover what their character's all about. So using something like the aftermath of a hurricane or a flood, that could be brilliant. Or maybe there's a fire. And that I've heard other DMs talk about using that, like, oh, you wake up in the middle of the night, you thought you were comfortable in your bed in the inn, and there is a fire raging through just the tavern or through the whole town or whatever. And I thought about another cool thing is whether or not you're running a homebrew or whether or not you're doing a sandbox or whether or not you're doing a module, you can use this idea. Because let's just say you're running a module, you could, I thought this would be kind of neat. Like you could have a fire start raging through the town or through the fields or forests or wherever your adventurers are. And what if they're just trying to get clear of the smoke, and in them trying to get clear of the smoke, all of a sudden it's not smoke, it's not that hot, intense furnace, it gets cool and damp and moist, and now that smoke has turned into mist, and what do you know? Your party has just entered Barovia. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? What a unique way to start the adventure of The Curse of Strahd. there just seems to be so many great ways that we can use what we experience in the world, in the natural world that we experience. We can bring that into our games, whether it's through our descriptions, whether it's through the places that we create and build for our adventures, or whether it's the events that spark the drama in our campaigns. This is something that you can always go to draw on for inspiration, and you don't have to be a druid to do that. So I encourage you to use those kind of things. How about you? Have you tried a hot start? I would love to hear about what works, what hasn't worked. Maybe you tried a hot start and it totally failed. Let me know, because I want to learn and I'd love to hear about how that went for you. In the meantime, keep rolling 20s. I'll see you tomorrow or at a table someday. And remember, it's your game, play your way. With Dorian about to blow us, what else would I do but decide to think about how natural with Dorian, with Hurricane Dorian about to pass us by down here in the Atlantic Southeast, or whatever it's called, this just, you know, Southeast America. I don't even know what I'm saying today. I can't speak right.